Alright, so the other day I made a video about Lil Boosie when he beat his federal gun charges in California. And we talked about everything that he had went through to get up to that point. Now that video has since been deleted from YouTube for a couple of reasons. One is I ran into some copyright problems. Two is it didn't perform very well. And three is because as it turns out, that wasn't the whole story. Because yesterday we got news that Lil Boosie has actually been re-indicted on these federal felony gun charges. And it looks like the prosecution just can't wait to get Boosie back behind bars. Now, my original video was about how Boosie beat the federal gun case. It got wiped off the internet. And then yesterday we get news that Boosie is being re-indicted. So before we get into the re-indictment, since my original video isn't up no more, I'm gonna go ahead and run back the highlights for y'all so y'all can get the general idea of what we're talking about. Lil Boosie. This right here is one of my all-time favorite people ever. And I might be a little bit biased because I grew up in Louisiana a little bit. So when I was a youngin', we was jamming Boosie all day, all night. Like I legit got memories with the homies slap boxing with Lil Boosie Set It Off playing in the background. Like Boosie done said it a million times, but he real deal raised a lot of the young street dudes that are now adults. Like when we wanted to get hype, we played some Lil Boosie. They ain't about what they be talking about. When we was going through rough times, we played that Lil Boosie, You Don't Know My Struggle. When we was kicking it, we was playing that Lil Boosie Smoking on Purple. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all probably got these same kind of memories, but not everybody shares that same love for Boosie. He's one of them people that people love to hate. He speak that street language and not everybody agrees with it. But love or hate Lil Boosie, you gotta admit, Boosie been through some trying times, some hard times, and he's overcame pretty much all of it, from beating serious federal charges to beating serious state charges to beating cancer. Bro literally been through it all. But for the last year, prosecutors have been aggressively pursuing felony gun charges against Boosie. They had the man on an ankle monitor, and bro been in the court system fighting for his life. And this all stems from a traffic stop incident that happened back in May of 2023 when police pulled him over and said they found him and one of his companions with 2 loaded guns in a car. Now Boosie is a convicted felon, so obviously that's what they charged him with, felon in possession of a firearm. Now this happened in San Diego, and a San Diego police officer at the time said he was reviewing social media, looking at what they said was a local gang member's profile when they spotted a picture with Boosie with the handle of a gun hanging out of his waistband. Now Boosie was in San Diego at the time to shoot a music video, so they seen that and then they plotted the traffic stop that led to his arrest. Now at first it was a state charge, and the state charge was dismissed in June of 2023, shortly after he got the charge. But as soon as Boosie exited the courtroom, he was arrested by federal agents and handed an identical charge in federal court. Now it wasn't looking good for Boosie because obviously he's a felon in possession of a firearm, and historically that could lead, especially in the federal court system, that could lead to a pretty lengthy sentence being handed down. However, Boosie once again finds himself on the right side of luck, beating yet another charge because this federal charge that he was hit with actually just got dismissed. Now let me explain. Historically speaking, once you're convicted of a felony, the government pretty much takes away your right to bear arms, and it's been that way for a long time. However, the reason Boosie was able to beat this charge ultimately came down to a recent precedent from the 9th Circuit Court that was set in another case of a guy named Steven Shorty Duarte. Now, just like Boosie, Duarte was picked up by police for having a gun. His case went to trial, and the jury found him guilty of being a felon in possession of a firearm. However, after he was sentenced, Duarte appealed, claiming that the government violated his Second Amendment rights, which is the right to bear arms. The 9th Circuit Court actually sided with Duarte, agreeing that the government failed to find historical analogs for permanently denying Duarte's right to have a gun after he served time in jail for his prior nonviolent offenses. Now, when they agreed with Duarte that his Second Amendment right was violated, they cited the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruden, which was a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision that struck down New York's restrictions on carrying concealed guns. In that case, which was decided in 2022, the U.S. High Court ruled that gun restrictions must be consistent with historical firearm regulations from the 18th and 19th century when the Second Amendment was first enacted, right? So pretty much what they said was the Constitution and its amendments was written in the 18th and 19th century, and that the rights that people have today should meet the same rights that people had back then. It should be consistent with historical historical regulations. So thanks to the Ninth Circuit's ruling and their siding with Duarte was able to beat that case. And like Duarte, so was Lil Boosie, making him the second person in history to have their charges dismissed after this Ninth Circuit ruling. And we seen Boosie 2 weeks ago say that he was aware that this was gonna happen. He made like a little celebration video where he was like, basically, my attorneys and my PO just told me I'm good to cut my ankle monitor off because the charges are going to be dropped.
Got a call from my lawyer and my PO. Say the charge is terminated. And I can cut my ankle monitor.
I know that right.
Yes, sir. Cut that out, Thug Life.
Come up off that Thug Life.
Tread Life.
Right.
However, that was a bit of an early celebration because the charges actually weren't dismissed. He didn't actually beat this case until July 12th. And honestly, I gotta be real, it's a good look for not only Boosie, but anybody that's ever been convicted of a felony and had the right to bear arms taken away. Because I've always felt like it's one of them inalienable rights, especially if you've been convicted of non-violent offenses. It's never really made sense to me why we would take people's right to bear arms away over non-violent offenses. So I've always kind of felt like it was an antiquated law. It needed to be updated. And this isn't just a victory for Boosie. This is a victory for anybody that's in his shoes that may have been charged with something and then convicted of something that is super minor, but maybe the charges were trumped up or whatever the case may be. Again, Boosie is only the second person to have his charges thrown out because of this ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court. But I got a feeling that we'll probably see more of this happening in the future. Now, I'm not telling anybody to go out here and risk it thinking that they could beat the case based off the Ninth Circuit ruling. Obviously, Boosie got money. He got good attorneys. I'm sure that played in his favor. But at the end of the day, I think it's like a step in the right direction. And you can see how happy Boosie was from the moment he walked out of court.
Video here. Boosie, what can you say about the charges being dropped?
I'm emotional. I'm just glad that it's over. I just thank God, thank my attorneys.
Yeah.
Ready to go cross seas. I'm finna take a vacation. This really was a bump in my life, and I done made it over that bump. Now it's time to enjoy my happiness, you know?
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Here y'all go. Drop. Yes, Sylvia, infamous Sylvia. What you gotta say about the charges drop? It's over with. God good. There you have it, y'all. Yes, Sylvia. So what? All right, now. Yeah, for sure.
Now, Boosie also took to Instagram and he posted this. It says, "Case dismissed. God, I just want to say thank you. You never leave me. You make a way out of no way. You made me beat South Baton Rouge. You made me beat cancer. You made me beat death row. You made me beat gunshots. You made me beat Fed cases. You forgave my sins. Every time it looked like it was impossible, you showed their ass. To anyone in trouble, call on God. I don't care how bad it looks. He will do it. He will make a way out of no way. Shout out to my attorneys." He tagged his attorneys. Shout out to the prayer warriors and to all my fans who said a prayer, to everyone who on me and said I was going to jail, to those who wanted me locked up in jail, and to those who did me wrong thinking I would be in jail. Joke's on you, bruh.
It's over with. God good, sucker. Hate me. I'm lost for words right now, man. Take me a trip across country, bro. Go to about 3 different countries. God good, boy. He'll make a way out of no way, bro, man. And they love me, bro. Finna take me a trip, bro. Everything coming back around. I'm finna get my rights back, my gun rights back. My pawn money back. I'm grateful, bro. Thank you, God.
All right, so that was the story. That was what went down. That was the video that I posted, right? And it was looking good for Boosie by the end of that video. He done beat the federal gun charges. He was getting emotional, tearing up on camera, thankful that he was going to be able to retain his freedom. But like I said, I jumped the gun on that video because less than 5 days later, here we are getting news that Boosie has been re-indicted on those charges. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, how was he re-indicted if he beat the case? Isn't double jeopardy a thing? You can't be charged with the same crime twice if you beat it the first time. And it's pretty simple how they got around that. They just gave him a different charge. So the last charge he had was felon in possession of a firearm. This charge that they're indicting him on is addict in possession of a firearm. Now, what do they think Boosie is addicted to? Man, who knows? He said he don't drink lean no more. He said he ain't been out there partying like that. And I would think if you were going to charge somebody with addict in possession of a firearm, you have to prove that at that time they were an addict. And that may be something that they have to do in the court system. But that's what they've charged him with, and double jeopardy doesn't apply to this. And due to this new charge, Boosie feels like he's been being targeted or is being targeted.
A prosecution that really dislikes me, bro. The first time I went to court, he looked at me and said, "Wipe me down." It's an old gray white man, bro. Like, I ain't even know he knew my song. I couldn't do nothing but I was like, damn, bro. Like, personal, man. That's prosecutor misconduct. He looked at me and said, "Wipe me down." It surprised me, bro. It surprised me. I was like, damn. Then the dudes I was in a tank with, I had 2 Mexicans. They saw it. They was off, bro. They was like, man, they was mad, bro. Like, he surprised everybody that day, bro.
So as you can hear him say, he feels like the federal prosecutor has it out for him. Like they want him and they want him bad. And just real quick, I gotta say, you know, I love Boosie, but don't nobody get they lick back harder than the federal government. It ain't a drill rapper on earth that'll get their lick back quicker, faster, or better than the federal government does. And at this point, Boosie's been making a mockery of him, right? He beat murder charges when he was on death row. He beat them gun charges this last time. And that was after beating state charges for the same gun. Now he's facing this federal indictment over the exact same gun. And this is what happens when you beat all those cases and then you go do a bunch of interviews about them. You talk about it. It kind of comes off like you're bragging about it. Bro, the federal government is watching that. That makes them mad. That makes them feel like they took the biggest L in the world. And this the American government we talking about. They don't like taking no L's. So Boosie may be on to something with the theory that they're out for him. They very well maybe. And this is backed up when you listen to Boosie's lawyer explain what all is going on. Now, if y'all didn't know, his attorney actually hopped on a Zoom call with Megan Cuniff, who is a reporter. Y'all may have seen some of her clips on my channel. She's been doing the Young Thug trial. She posts about it a lot. Anyway, she did this phone call, this Zoom call with Boosie's attorney, who, by the way, used to be a federal prosecutor. Her name is Megan Blanco, and she says that she's never seen anything like this before.
There were some rumors going around that he's been recharged, and it sounds like the feds did decide to recharge him because the Ninth Circuit had vacated the Duarte decision.
Right. So the Ninth Circuit, after the dismissal, vacated the Duarte decision. They're going to hear it en banc in September. So I am frankly just shocked by the fact that the government decided to move forward with charges now, just given what's been going on and developing in Second Circuit case law around the country, including in the Ninth Circuit. They recalled the Duarte decision. They depublished it so that the entire Ninth Circuit, the court as a whole, can re-review it. I am not expecting a different decision. And if you look at what decisions are coming down from other circuits around the country, other circuits are in alignment with what the Ninth Circuit found. And I believe that ultimately the Supreme Court would be or will be in alignment when the issue comes before them, probably in the next year or so. But they refiled charges. We will again move for dismissal. There are a couple of other motions that I will be filing in addition to raising the Duarte and Second Amendment challenges. We'll be moving to dismiss on additional grounds in the coming weeks. This is, a case where Mr. Hatch was charged, as you know, initially by the state. We have one dismissal there. Charged then by the feds, second dismissal. And they're going at it again a third time. And one of the things I think that's most shocking about the newer indictments, it all involves identical conduct. So the same conduct that the state charged initially, then the federal government picked up, right? Expanding Mr. Hatch's exposure in terms of what his penalty could potentially look like. Then over a year passes, we get the second dismissal and they file a second charge. Same exact conduct, but there's questions about why, if this was a valid charge, should not have been brought initially the first time. And so we'll be raising motions concerning that charge specifically and the government's motivations for bringing the charge so late after Mr. Hatch has exercised his constitutional rights in this case.
So you said he was turning himself in today in San Diego. Is he going to have to be in custody?
He is not turning himself in today. It's next week. So I think that's where I cut out. The government wanted him to self-surrender today. That makes no sense. He was on bonds in his state case. He had no violations. He showed up to court. He showed up to court on time every time. He was on bond in his federal case. Federal case Hatch won. For over a year, no violations. He showed up to court every single time. There were no issues whatsoever. Issuance of an arrest warrant in those circumstances, something I personally have never seen. As you know, I was a federal prosecutor for a long time before I started doing defense work. That is not something that I had seen as a prosecutor. It's not something I've seen as a defense attorney. Uncalled for in this situation.
Now, Boosie did speak on this a little bit in another post that he made. He said, I'm on vacation with my family. My lawyer called me and said that this federal prosecutor, M. Wheat, has indicted me again on the same charge and added a charge that I was a drug addict in possession of a firearm. Shaking my head. Why you didn't charge me with that the first time? The judge has ruled. At this point, you making this a circus. This has to be unconstitutional. This shows how far these devils will go to try to stop a successful black man with a voice. This man has a serious vendetta of hate against me. He wants to be a character in a movie, and bro just doesn't respect the courts. He's racist and has no respect for the court. If I wasn't Boosie, this would not be happening to me. This the same man that looked at me and said, wipe me down on my first court appearance, laughing out loud. He's obsessed. I've never seen nothing like this in my damn life. 30 of us out here on vacation and I get the news. He put his hardest battles on his strongest soldiers. God got me. This man doesn't respect the law. Tell the president, pardon this bullshit. Hashtag justice for Boosie. Now look, whether you like Boosie or you dislike Boosie, you have to admit that having to fight the same charge 3 separate times is crazy. This is America, bruh. You supposed to be hit with the charge, go to court. You're either proven guilty or not guilty, and that should be the end of it. Having to fight the same charge 3 times in America when double jeopardy is supposed to be illegal is crazy, but y'all know how the government does. They'll find loopholes that let them get around that double jeopardy thing. How first it was the state and then it was the feds, but we charged him with felon in possession of a firearm. This time we're charging him with addict in possession of a fire. Like, bro, come on. Whether you like Boosie or you don't like Boosie, you got to admit that what he's currently going through with the government is a little bit out of pocket. And keep in mind that he beat the original federal gun charge for felon in possession because of the ruling on the Duarte case that basically set the precedent that in, certain circumstances, felons should be allowed to have their firearms. Like, for example, if they're non-violent offenders, right? And all across the country, we've been seeing laws get passed that favor giving people back their right to bear arms if that's the case. And Boosie beat it, and I stand on the fact that, they're trying to process him on antiquated laws that are outdated, and they're doing it after he's already beaten them twice. So I think that the whole thing is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, y'all gotta let me know what y'all think about it in the comments down below. Anyways, that's basically it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, tap the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. As always, it's been fun rocking with y'all, man. I'm out.